Hey, sister, come close, because I've got something to share that's going to stir your soul and light a fire in your spirit. Have you ever seen a woman who walks like the world can't shake her? Not because she's untouchable or full of herself, but because she knows she's got heaven's backup. She doesn't flinch when life gets messy. She doesn't chase likes or approval. She steps into a room, and it's like peace itself follows her. You want to know why? Because she's got angels walking with her, and heaven's got her back. This isn't just about surviving, honey. It's about being carried. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every tear she's shed in the quiet of the night. Heaven saw it. Angels wrote it down. And now, they surround her like a divine squad, ready to fight for her. You might see her calm, but you don't see the fire that forged her or the battles God's already won for her. So stick with me, because this isn't just a pep talk. It's a revelation. If you're that woman, or you're becoming her, you need to know who's got your back. And it's not just people, it's angels. A woman walking in faith. She's never alone. Even when the room feels empty, the phone's silent, or the world goes quiet, she's not abandoned. There's a divine crew. Angels stationed around her life. Not because she's perfect, but because she's chosen. Her faith is like a magnet, pulling heaven close. Every step she takes in courage, in pain, in obedience, activates a supernatural shield. Her presence shifts the vibe, not because of her own strength, but because of who's walking with her. When she prays, heaven picks up the phone. When she cries, angels lean in. She doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her voice echoes in the spiritual realm. This divine protection isn't just for emergencies, it's 24/7. Whether she's at home, at work, in joy, or in tears, there's a presence guarding her mind, her body, her spirit. Her instincts are sharp because she's tuned into something bigger than this world. She pauses before reacting. Not out of fear, but because she's listening to divine whispers. That's not hesitation, that's guidance. When you're surrounded by angels, you don't rush. You don't panic. Heaven's never late, but it's always on time, and she's learned to move to that rhythm. People might wonder why things just work out for her. Why doors open, why attacks miss, why her peace stays solid. They don't see the heavenly security detail deflecting chaos she never even knew was coming. It's not luck, it's coverage. There were moments she almost broke, days she thought the pain would swallow her whole. But somehow, strength showed up. Sometimes it was a stranger's kindness. Sometimes a situation flipping in her favor. Those weren't accidents. That was heaven stepping in, angels doing their job. Her protection doesn't mean life's always easy, but it means nothing can destroy her. She walks through valleys, but she's not alone. She faces fire, but she comes out untouched, not even smelling like smoke. That's what happens when angels have your back. You face what others fear, but you come out different, stronger, wiser, healed in ways that don't make sense. That wisdom, it's not just hers, it's heaven sent. This woman's got clarity. She doesn't get caught up in drama or chase trends. Why? Because when angels are with you, you don't waste energy on what drags you down. You sense what's meant to grow you and what's meant to drain you. You spot spiritual attacks dressed up as opportunities. That's not just safety, it's awareness. Her quiet confidence comes from knowing who she is, not because the world claps for her, but because heaven already gave her the nod. Angels don't flatter her, they fight for her. They don't validate her, they guard her. Every act of obedience, every time she forgives, every moment she keeps going when giving up feels easier, heaven sees it. Angels are on assignment, stepping in, releasing breakthroughs, delivering rewards. Don't mistake her gentleness for weakness or her silence for absence. She might be quiet, but she's backed by warriors. She might walk alone, but a heavenly host is right behind her. The world can try to shake her, but she won't fall. When God assigns angels to a woman, no force, natural or supernatural, can touch that divine covering. Her life isn't just about surviving, it's about walking with glory behind her and destiny ahead. Every trial is a testimony. Every one becomes wisdom. Every step, no matter how small, is backed by a force bigger than any threat. That's the essence of a woman surrounded by angels. She's not just blessed, she's backed by heaven. That's why she doesn't play with purpose. She knows that every decision has ripple effects. So, she's careful with her time, intentional with her words, disciplined in her habits, not because she's trying to be perfect, but because she knows she's accountable for the assignment on her life. This kind of life doesn't make sense to everyone. People ask why she's so serious, so selective, so committed. They don't understand that when heaven has marked your life, you can't live like everyone else. She can't afford to be distracted. She can't afford to move without clarity. Her life has weight. Her choices carry purpose. And purpose doesn't have room for chaos. She's no longer chasing outcomes. She's chasing obedience. She doesn't measure success by how fast things happen, but by how aligned she remains. She has seen what happens when she steps out of alignment. And she refuses to go back to that version of herself. She's learned that favor without preparation leads to failure. So now she embraces the process. She honors the waiting. She respects the pruning because she knows what's coming requires a foundation that can hold it. Her life is a divine blueprint, and she's no longer afraid of the unknown because she trusts the one holding the pen. Nothing in her story is wasted. Nothing is out of place. It's all been arranged with precision by the hands of a loving, intentional God. Her role is to trust, to listen, to move when called, and to rest when told. And in doing so, she walks with confidence because she knows she's not walking through life randomly. She's walking through it with purpose. Heaven is behind every detail. She doesn't collapse under pressure because she has been fortified by grace. Every storm she's walked through, every burden she's carried, every sleepless night, hidden strength, and heavenly protection she's endured has refined her character and deepened her faith. That's why when life gets heavy, she doesn't run from it. She rises in it. Grace is her covering, but it's also her core. It stabilizes her when everything else shakes. It gives her the ability to smile when there's nothing to smile about, to serve when she's tired, to love when she's hurting, and to keep moving when her strength is gone. That's not personality. It's divine empowerment. Grace under pressure isn't weakness. It's evidence of a woman who knows who carries her. She has learned how to be still without becoming stagnant, how to wait without becoming weary. Her silence is not surrender, it's strategy. She doesn't panic in the fire because she's been through enough of them to know that she always comes out better, stronger, wiser. The heat doesn't scare her, it shapes her. There is a holy calm that surrounds her in difficult moments. It's not because she has all the answers, but because she knows the one who does. She's not flustered by opposition because she's already prepared her spirit in prayer. She has laid the foundation before the storm even hit. That's the difference between surviving and standing. She doesn't just make it through. She stands in the middle of the trial with dignity, with clarity, and with a full awareness that she is not standing alone. Her grace is seen most clearly when she has every reason to fall apart, but chooses not to. Not because she's pretending to be strong, but because she knows she's supported by a strength that's not her own. The weight of life doesn't crush her. It humbles her, refines her, draws her closer to the presence of God. In that secret place, she exchanges fear for faith, anxiety for assurance. And that's why she carries herself with composure. Not because she hasn't been through pain, but because she knows pain doesn't have the final say. People often mistake her grace for ease. They assume she hasn't struggled because she makes resilience look effortless. But what they don't see is the depth of her private battles. They don't see the prayer she's prayed on her knees, the tears she's wiped silently the night she's sat in the dark with only the comfort of God's presence holding her together. What looks like poise is actually perseverance. What looks like elegance is actually endurance. She walks through fire with grace because she knows that she is covered in favor. The pressure doesn't change her. It reveals her. It brings out the treasure that's been buried beneath the surface. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and so is her character. Her grace under pressure is not denial of her circumstances. It's defiance of fear. She doesn't deny the reality of the struggle, but she refuses to let it define her. She knows that her identity is rooted in something greater than her current situation. That is why she can smile in scarcity, remain kind in conflict, stay grounded in uncertainty. That's what it means to walk in grace. Her grace is not a mask, it's a mantle. It's a divine garment placed on her through surrender, prayer, and trust. And when she wears it, she doesn't have to prove herself. The pressure she's under doesn't make her bitter, It makes her bold. She's not afraid of opposition because she knows that pressure produces power. She doesn't resist the refining, she welcomes it because she knows the result is always glory. Even when the world tries to provoke her, even when people misunderstand her, she doesn't react from ego. She responds from spirit. She's learned to pause instead of retaliate, to pray instead of panic. That's grace. And that kind of grace doesn't just protect her peace, it elevates her presence. She doesn't need to defend herself when grace speaks louder than words. She doesn't need to chase validation when grace already affirms her. Pressure reveals what's real. And in those revealing moments, she's discovered that her joy is not circumstantial. Her peace doesn't come from external stability. It comes from within. It comes from the quiet confidence that she is exactly where she needs to be, that every trial has a purpose and that nothing can derail what God has destined for her. That truth keeps her calm in chaos, steady in storms, and anchored in adversity. She doesn't try to escape the pressure prematurely. She understands that sometimes the process is uncomfortable. Sometimes the path to purpose is paved with pain. But she also knows that grace doesn't just carry her through. It transforms her in the process. She's not just enduring the storm, she's being equipped by it. She's not just surviving. She's being shaped for something greater. There's something rare and powerful about a woman who can hold her peace in the middle of pressure. Not because she's suppressing her emotions, but because she surrendered them. She has placed her anxiety, her questions, her fears in the hands of a God who never fails. And now she moves with confidence. Not in herself, but in his ability to sustain her. This grace under pressure gives her influence. People are drawn to her not because she's loud, but because she's rooted. Not because she commands attention, but because she commands atmosphere. When she enters a room, peace enters with her. When she speaks, there's weight in her words. And when she remains silent, even her stillness carries strength. The storms will come, the pressure will rise, but she will remain. Not because she's invincible, but because she is invisible to the enemy. When she's hidden in grace, her covering is not her own ability, but God's unwavering presence. That is why she survives. That is why she thrives. That is why no matter how hard life tries to break her, she always stands again with grace in her heart and purpose in her stride. She doesn't live in fear because she understands that favor speaks louder than opposition. Her life isn't dictated by what could go wrong, by the opinions of others, or by the weight of uncertainty. She walks boldly, not because every step is predictable, but because she knows favor is surrounding her like a shield. Favor is the silent force working on her behalf. It's the reason she's been preserved in places others were broken. It's why she's elevated in seasons where others counted her out. And that favor didn't come from people. It came from God. When a woman is marked with favor, the natural order of things doesn't apply to her in the same way. The rules still exist, but the outcome is different. She's protected from things that destroy others. She's strengthened in places meant to weaken her. She's given access to doors that weren't supposed to open for her. That's what favor does. It doesn't guarantee a smooth path, but it guarantees a victorious one. She no longer wastes time being intimidated by what stands against her. She's come to realize that when you walk in divine favor, attacks are inevitable, but they are also ineffective. Fear used to paralyze her until she saw what God's favor could do. It shifted environments. It placed her in rooms where her name had never been spoken. It gave her influence where she had no connections. It aligned her with people she never thought she'd meet. And it kept her covered in seasons where everything around her fell apart. She doesn't wake up worried about the enemy. She wakes up focused on her assignment because fear is a distraction and she has too much favor to waste her time looking over her shoulder. Her confidence doesn't come from her abilities. It comes from her awareness of who goes before her, who walks beside her, and who fights for her. She doesn't fear the battle because she's already victorious in the spirit. Her job is to show up in faith and let favor do the rest. Her discernment tells her when to speak and when to be silent, when to move and when to wait. That's how favor works. It's not just about external blessings. It's about internal clarity. It doesn't always look like material gain. Sometimes it looks like peace in chaos, wisdom in confusion, and strength in wariness. Favor is knowing who you are, even when the world tries to redefine you. It's standing tall in rooms where others want you to shrink. It's saying no with conviction when compromise tries to seduce you. The presence of favor doesn't eliminate opposition, it attracts it. But she's not afraid of that anymore. She's learned that when favor shows up, the enemy gets nervous. That's why things seem to intensify right before breakthrough. That's why doors sometimes close suddenly, because the next one is greater. That's why people walk away, because they can't handle the weight of favor on her life. She used to cry over those moments. Now she recognizes them as divine positioning. Favor is not just about what she receives, it's also about what she survives. She's endured things that should have broken her, but didn't. She's come through situations that tried to steal her faith, but only strengthened it. That's favor. It doesn't always look like ease. Sometimes it looks like endurance. Favor is the reason she still has her mind, her joy, her purpose. It's the invisible covering that guards her from the weapons formed against her. They may form, but they won't prosper. She doesn't compare herself to others because she knows her favor is specific. It's not based on popularity or performance. It's not earned and it's not duplicated. It's tailor-made for her calling. So, she celebrates others without doubting herself. She can clap for another woman's success and still walk confidently in her own lane because she knows her time is appointed, her season is secure, and her favor is intact. She's not concerned with being understood by everyone. Favor often looks confusing to outsiders. People don't always know how she got there, why things work out for her, or how she maintains her peace. But that's a thing about favor. It doesn't come with an explanation. It just speaks for itself. It operates in silence, but manifests in power. She no longer wastes her breath trying to justify herself. She lets the fruit speak. She's favored, but she's also faithful. Transformation through obedience. She doesn't rely on favor as an excuse to be passive. She shows up, she works hard, she prays fervently. She lives with intention because she understands that favor must be stewarded. It's not just something she wears, it's something she honors. She protects it by staying obedient. She nurtures it by staying humble. She expands it by staying available to God's leading. Her life is proof that favor and fear cannot coexist. One will always silence the other, and she's chosen to silence fear by anchoring herself in God's promises. Every time doubt creeps in, she reminds herself of how far favor has brought her. When she looks back on her life, she sees miracle after miracle, open door after open door, protection in places that should have broken her. And that memory becomes her weapon against fear. She moves with clarity now. She no longer second guesses every opportunity, every decision, every relationship. If favor is on it, it flows. If favor is missing, she lets it go. That's how she guards her peace. That's how she stays aligned. She doesn't have to strive or manipulate or hustle for what's hers. If God said it, favor will fulfill it. All she has to do is walk in faith and trust the timing. The woman who walks in favor and refuses to bow to fear is unstoppable. Not because life doesn't hit her hard, but because she gets up harder. Not because she's unshaken, but because she knows where her help comes from. Her favor is not loud, but it's powerful. It doesn't need to be announced, it's evident, and it goes before her, making crooked places straight, raising valleys and bringing mountains low. That's the power of favor over fear. It's not about who she is, it's about who's covering her. She understands that her life was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to be impactful. And impact demands a level of sacrifice that most will never understand. She doesn't wake up chasing ease or convenience. She wakes up seeking clarity. Clarity on her next step, her next assignment, her next prayer. Because when a woman knows that she's been called, everything about her changes. Her walk becomes intentional. Her words carry weight. Her presence commands the atmosphere. She is no longer living to be liked. She is living to be obedient. There's something unshakable about a woman who has surrendered her comfort for the sake of her calling. She's not driven by applause, recognition, or external validation. She's led by purpose. That purpose may lead her into hard places, but it never leaves her unprotected. She has angels assigned to her path, not to make life easy, but to ensure she stays aligned. They shield her from what would distract her. They fight battles she'll never know about. And they guard the vision she carries. This woman doesn't settle, not because she's too good for what's offered, but because she knows what's been promised. She understands that when she chooses impact over comfort, some things will be lost. Relationships, routines, even opportunities. But those losses are never without purpose. They are part of the pruning process, making room for what's divine. She doesn't mourn what leaves when it's not in alignment with her assignment. She releases it and keeps moving forward, trusting that everything she needs will find her on the path of purpose. Her calling won't let her rest in mediocrity. It keeps her up at night with vision. It wakes her early with conviction. It pulls her away from noise and towards stillness where she can hear clearly. She no longer fears separation because she understands that separation often precedes elevation. Being called means being set apart, and she embraces the solitude that comes with it. Not out of pride, but out of necessity. Impact requires focus, and focus often looks like isolation. She is aware that her life is being watched not just by people, but by the heavens. Every decision she makes is recorded. Every act of obedience matters. She doesn't take this lightly. That's why she walks with reverence, not arrogance. That's why she carries herself with discipline. The call on her life isn't about platform. It's about people. It's about breaking chains, opening eyes, shifting generations. Her obedience today becomes someone else's breakthrough tomorrow. There is a fire in her that won't let her quit. Even when she's tired, when she's doubting, when she feels unseen, she keeps showing up. Not for applause, not for recognition, but because she knows heaven is counting on her consistency. Her calling is not always glamorous. Some days it feels like obscurity, but she's learned that hidden seasons are holy, that the preparation she endures in private will produce fruit in public when the time is right. She doesn't rush that timing. She trusts it because she knows premature exposure can destroy what purpose was designed to build. So she remains faithful in the quiet, diligent in the unseen, and humble in every opportunity. That's how she protects the oil on her life. That's how she honors the weight of her calling. The angels assigned to her aren't just watching. They're working. They are constantly aligning things in the background, shifting hearts, moving obstacles, and preparing rooms she hasn't even entered yet. They minister to her when she's weary. They stand between her and what the enemy tried to send. She doesn't always see them, but she feels their presence. In her spirit, she knows she's not walking alone. The weight of her calling has taught her not to waste her time. She doesn't entertain what drains her. She doesn't linger in what delays her. She doesn't apologize for walking away from what no longer serves her assignment. She knows her energy is sacred, her voice is powerful, and her time is limited. So she uses all of it with purpose. She speaks differently now, not to impress, but to impart. She's not concerned with sounding deep. She's concerned with being effective. Her words heal, sharpen, challenge, and uplift. They're not rooted in emotion, but in revelation. Because she doesn't speak from wounds, she speaks from wisdom. That wisdom wasn't cheap. It was earned through seasons of crushing, refining, and surrender. Her life demands more because her assignment requires more. She can't do what everyone else does because she's been set apart. Her consecration isn't about legalism. It's about protection. She's protecting what she's carrying, protecting what's growing in her. And anything that threatens to abort that purpose is no longer welcome in her life. She is not trying to fit in. She is trying to fulfill the vision. Fulfill the call, fulfill the reason she was sent here. And fulfillment rarely comes from comfort. It comes from obedience. She's learned to let go of the need to final word. The woman heaven covers explain herself to those who don't understand. The call wasn't sent to the crowd. It was whispered to her spirit. And that whisper was loud enough to shift her entire life. She doesn't walk with arrogance. She walks with awareness. She knows that heaven is backing her. That every step she takes in alignment is reinforced by power she doesn't even have to call for. It moves with her. It breathes through her. It fights on her behalf. She's covered not just for survival, but for impact. She lives on assignment. That every day is an opportunity to move closer to what she was created to do. Every moment is a chance to choose purpose over comfort, calling over convenience. She's not chasing a title, she's chasing transformation. She's not after attention, she's after alignment. And because of that, heaven responds, angels move. Doors open, and destiny unfolds. Step by step, day by day, decision by decision. She is a woman no longer living for comfort. She is living for legacy, and everything about her life reflects it. She is not just a woman living her life. She is a force moving through life with purpose, grace, and divine backing. Every battle she's endured, every tear she shed, every moment of silence, every closed door, every elevation, every fall, every rise. It was all part of the shaping. She was never alone. She was always surrounded. Angels weren't just watching her journey, they were assigned to it. And now she walks in a rhythm that no one can disrupt, protected by favor, guided by purpose, and empowered by the one who called her. She's not seeking the world's validation because heaven already affirmed her. She's not worried about who's against her because she knows who is for her. Her story isn't over, it's just beginning. And as she continues, she does so with clarity in her eyes, peace in her heart, and fire in her spirit. She is a woman surrounded by angels, and because of that, she is unstoppable.